He makes a tough act to follow. All right. Okay, so you already know, but my name is AJ White, and I do want to start with my own thank you this evening. So I am obviously here because of your generosity. And as he shared, as of June, I'm a proud Boonville resident, thanks to your generosity. And tonight I have the privilege of sharing a little bit of my story with you guys around what I would say is the heart of Young Life, and that's relational ministry. And before I do, we're going to watch another short video. It's called Known, and this is Young Life's vision from now till 2030.
Our world is full of chaos and commotion. We are distracted and disrupted. And those most vulnerable and affected are young people. They're connected, yet alone. For far too many, when you ask who knows them best, they answer,
no one.
Young Life leaders are about making kids known. We begin knowing kids by name. We invite them to know their true purpose. For over 80 years, we've done this wherever young people hang out or spend their time. We show up, we listen, we walk with young people, and we share Jesus. We see 1 billion young people in our world, and far too many feel unknown today. We are still compelled to play our part, to know Jesus, know kids, and together make the name of Jesus known around the world. Our vision remains, and between now and 2030, we're bringing focus into 4 areas. We believe God is calling us to model relational ministry by knowing young people from middle school to college and inviting them to be disciples of Jesus. God is urging us to develop kingdom leaders who are courageous members of the gospel and to create leadership pipelines for the next diverse generation. God is calling us to play our part to inspire a volunteer movement and to use simple tools to pray for, equip, and to send out disciples who make more disciples. And God compels us to go together with each other and adults in local communities as we live out our mission of announcing the gospel. Young people think no one knows them, but Jesus knows their story, and we're bringing caring adults to be the hands and feet of Jesus. To tell young people, you are known. You have a kingdom purpose. We share this with one kid at a time and watch God change his world together.
All right, so I'm going to start. As I share, I'm sharing a little of bit of my story. So I'm going to start with a photo. This is me in 7th grade, so 12 years old. And this was where my journey began with Young Life. At this time, my family had started going to a new church. I went to youth group for the first time, and I was introduced to this thing called wildlife. And knowing Jesus went from my head to my heart. There were some crucial characters that also came into play that were, in fact, for me, just as the video mentioned, the hands and feet of Jesus at a time that I really needed it. I used to be a little confused about my testimony. We use that word a lot. It seemed that when I started following Jesus more closely, that life began unraveling. And back then, what I thought, many people shared their testimony, which included all the hard or bad things you did, and then how we met Jesus, and finally how life had been fixed after that, or better, or at least that's what I heard. I wondered why some of my story seemed backwards, and then I remember someone telling me one day something that felt pretty profound. They said, "It sounds like Jesus came at just the right time." I said, touche. And they were so right. So that was 1995. 30 years have passed since then. And I brought just a few things with me tonight to share with you guys. All right, these two stacks represent letters from my old wildlife and young life leaders. And this is a stack of letters for one of my young life kids. And for me, hold on. This is one of the greatest representations of the video we just watched. I see evidence of young life leaders who have known me for a long time, far before I even knew myself. I thought, what better way to see someone well and peek into their story than to literally read their mail? Well, at least a few lines anyway. So, before I dive in, I'd like to give just a quick little Young Life language lesson. Young Life has had a few catchphrases and mottos over the years. You may have heard them use the phrase, for every kid, or every kid, everywhere, for eternity. Another one I heard over and over was their commitment to the furthest out kid. And Young Life describes this as the kid that is most disinterested in hearing about the gospel. I very much appreciate the intentionality of Young Life to make sure every kid feels like they absolutely have a seat at the table with Jesus. And it's something they do well. I can also tell you that anyone who would have asked back then would not have identified that as my story. By some, I would have been overlooked in ministry as the kid who didn't need much because they had it all together. Good grades, did well in sports. I was a rule follower into church. But what was also true that I hinted at earlier was that life around me was getting increasingly tough, even if I didn't really talk about it. Things in my family were growing more difficult. That's why I'm thankful that this mission in going after the furthest out kid also doesn't bypass those that seem to have it all together, but carries open hands to God's work in every kid. Because whether it's more obvious or not, we all have a furthest out place, a situation, or a season we're holding within us that absolutely needs the light and love and company of Jesus so that we don't have to go at it alone. So without further ado, these are a few insights into my story from my young life leader, Diane. To set the scene, this is my sophomore year of high school. The year is 1999, probably when that Backstreet Boys album we're singing tonight actually came out. So here's what she shared. You are doing so well. I feel like you are pushing yourself to stay in a game with the ball spinning on your finger. And if it drops for a split second, you're so hard on yourself, even though you put it right back on. With basketball, friends, family, and school. Does anyone else relate? This is something I'm still working on and working through, and it has been so helpful to see these threads over time as I continue to move forward differently as an adult. Next letter. I wanted to let you know how much I appreciate your letters. You are very good at expressing yourself in writing. If you don't know what to major in, it could be writing or journalism or something. I actually majored in physical education because I played a lot of sports and I did enjoy them, but didn't realize I didn't really want to teach. I never took a teaching job, going on Young Life staff right out of college. Years later, I found myself making more space in my life for writing, even if informally, as I began to hear that same sentiment from others. It's a part of me I've identified to feel most me with over time. And I didn't realize it back then, but my young life leader did. Diane also went on to say in that letter, I want you to know that I've been praying special for you and your family. I'm here for you if you ever need to talk, whether in person or in writing, whichever is best for you. But this will probably be a long, hard process, and I'm here for you. Of course, you know that God is also there for you perfectly, day or night. As things in your family may change, remember this promise. Jesus doesn't change. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, he's totally himself. From Hebrews 13:8. Does anyone else need that reminder too? Diane was always sharing scripture with me, and it deposited into me deep riches and care that would continue throughout my life. In every one of us, there's a furthest out place we are holding, things too hard for us to hold by ourselves, though we sure try. Sometimes we don't just need the hands and feet, but also the ears of Jesus in the people around us. Sometimes we need their words and encouragement and prayers and presence to fill the gap. And I know this isn't just me and my story. There are many lives that have been changed as a young life leader has come alongside them, showing them what it is to be seen and known, not alone. I've got one more letter to share from. This is from one of my old Young Life girls. Her name's Elizabeth. I found it to be very fitting of this unique, deeply relational ministry that we call Young Life, in a language that is on point with high schoolers. It goes like this. Dear bestest friend, I am so proud to say that originally you may have just been my Young Life leader. Now, however, I refer to you more as my best friend. It's always weird to try to explain to people who you are. I could say my Young Life leader, but most often, best friend. I thank you for this. And I know there are leaders and kids across the country and across the world who have moments just like this. And the doors to these very same relationships are starting to open again here in Boonville, too. There are kids in this community, each with their own story. Kids longing to be known well by another, perhaps their own leader, and perhaps longing to know Jesus and the way a real relationship with him might affect their everyday life. At our last Wildlife Club, middle schoolers had a chance to think about and write down, what question would you like to ask Jesus? I didn't intend on sharing them, but they had some really important ones. Here's just a few. Where were you when I really needed you? Why did you want me to be in this family? Why was I put through the family problems I've had? How do you love every person, even though some don't love you? Why do people treat me the way they do? Why did you create this? Will I go to heaven? Why do I go through this pain every day? How do I know God will fix everything? I need to know how. Do you feel the weight? And do any of these resonate with you? I'm still asking many of these questions. What an honor to come alongside Boonville students and give space to sit with some of the deepest questions of life. None of us want to sit with these questions alone. So currently we have myself and one volunteer leader, Ronnie, at the middle school. And Young Life in Boonville is back. But we need leaders to do the sacred work of knowing students and helping them know Jesus. And leaders can come in all ages and stages. Parents, young adults, college students, retirees, and even high schoolers. We would love to begin training high school juniors to minister to middle school students their senior year of high school. And as we look to redevelop ministry and eventually start club again at Boonville High School, this will require the addition of leaders. As we look to continue ministry at Boonville Middle School, we especially need guy leaders. All you guys in the room. No. I know in our busy age, committing to something like this can feel difficult. And before you totally count yourself out, might you get curious on what this could look like in your life or someone you know? Being a leader can take anywhere from 5 to 15 hours a week. Some who have more will give more. There's no one size fits all when it comes to being a leader. Some of you may already do ministry elsewhere and can't commit to adding, but there are ways we may partner together. What's your season? And what's your story? I'd love to meet with you and talk more about that. Our world is very crowded. It's no surprise. You may or may not be familiar with the story in the Gospels of the 4 men who are working in a very crowded space as well. From Luke 5, it says, I think we've got that here. Yeah, one day Jesus was teaching, and the Pharisees and teachers of the law were sitting there. They had come from every village of Galilee and from Judea and Jerusalem. And the power of the Lord was with Jesus to heal the sick. Some men came carrying a paralyzed man on a mat and tried to take him into the house to lay him before Jesus. When they could not find a way to do this because of the crowd, they went up on the roof and lowered him on his mat through the tiles into the middle of the crowd, right in front of Jesus. And our world is now crowded in many different ways. But besides just physical proximity, we know well the crowdedness of time, attention, noise, distraction. But we also know that more than anything, we want to help give every heart, mind, soul, and body, with each of their unique questions and needs, an opportunity to sit right in front of Jesus. It's not our job to fix, to heal, or to make everything right. If that's our goal, we will fail supremely. But to help these students come face to face with Jesus. Again, this is a group effort. We may not be digging through roofs to get kids there, but we are willing to enter the world of adolescence again and grab one corner of a mat, and in doing so, have the extreme privilege of sitting them before the creator of the universe, the creator of their very own heart, their body, their story. Would you or someone you know consider grabbing a corner together? There is something absolutely life-changing of having the privilege of that front row view in which you also uniquely see Jesus. And before we move on, I'd like to give us just 1 minute of headspace or prayer space while we are here together tonight to sit with that. Maybe ask yourself, or if you feel comfortable, ask God. Feel free to jot down or make a note of anyone that might come to mind, or perhaps just take a quiet moment to pray for this person. Maybe you and God begin your own dialogue. If you're here and you don't know many others in or around the Boonville community, we would love if you could take a moment to simply join us in asking God to send, to build up, or help connect us with leaders here in our community. So we'll play some music. Just there's the question on the screen, and just take a minute with us in prayer. All right. Sum it all up. To me, young life is every kid that grows into every adult. Sometimes the relationships they have and the things they learn about Jesus are carried close through a lifetime. Sometimes it's shelved for years until they get curious again about the things they saw, heard, and experienced years ago. Maybe that's some of you who are in the room tonight. I pray the best we can, we show up for the kids in this community, our town, our kids. That together, we can sit alongside them, even when we may not have all the answers. That we would be unafraid to come near those hard, out there, or disinterested spaces, faces, and places. And in doing so, may these kids not feel so alone. May they even feel known. And most importantly, may we have the privilege of introducing them to what it means to know and be known by Jesus. To quote Young Life founder Jim Rayburn, Jesus Christ is everything kids want most, if they only knew it. So now I'm going to turn over the mic to my friend John Broadhead, who will share with you about some of our next steps.